Good morning, Juliet.
Good morning.
It's great to have you back again with another class. Your two Starry Night layouts are really awesome, and we're excited to scrap those today.
Yes, I'm super excited. Thank you for inviting me back. And this is the most incredible collection. So I'm super excited to share my layouts with you and get some scrapping done this morning.
Yes, and just before we get going, like, how's your store move going?
It's going. Yes, it's a big process, a long process. I've been closed for a week or two, just getting everything ready, but we're on the home stretch. So next week we'll be reopening, and
Nice.
yeah, I'm excited. New
And
beginnings.
you were in the other store for, what was it, 17 years?
17 years, yes.
Wow, so this is a big change for you. I'm
That's
sure
a
it's many
big
sleepless
change.
nights.
Lots of emotions, up and down, but it's all good.
Yes.
So I'm excited.
We're all really excited because we know when you do something, you do it properly and excellently. So
Dennis, the pressure.
we're all quite excited to see it.
Yeah, no, it's just taking a little bit of time. And as you know, in a scrapbook store, there are so many pieces of paper and little bits and pieces. So the unpacking is a huge job. But yeah,
I can't even imagine.
So I'm excited to welcome everyone back next week.
Yes, very exciting. Cool. Okay, Juliet, well, I think let's get this class going. I'm sure we've got some very anxious ladies excited to do both layouts. So
yes, fabulous.
Very excited.
Great. Okay, so welcome everybody, and I'm so excited to be sharing another online class with you. This class is pre-recorded, so you are welcome to pause at any time if you need a little bit more time to get things done. We are going to be doing 2 double layouts this morning, so it's quite a tall order, but if we just work together, we're going to get it done quick and easy. The layouts today are not extremely complicated, even though there looks like there's lots of busyness happening on them. They're actually quite easy to get done. So it's going to be a nice, simple, breezy class this morning. We are using this fabulous new collection called Starry Night. And once again, Dennis and Erin have just pulled out all the stops to bring us this absolutely beautiful collection. I want to just flip through the paper pack just for those that don't have the collection in hand yet. You're going to want to get it. So let me just show you what is in this beautiful paper pack. These are obviously the items that you will get with the bulk pack, the embellishment pack with these beautiful domes, pretty ribbons, and we've got 2 amazing chippies. I just absolutely love this little triangle thing with, I don't even know what you call it, but it's so beautiful. So those are our chippies we're going to be working with, and we've got this lovely acetate sheet in white. The papers have got lots of dark bits, so the white shows off beautifully against those dark papers. Right, so those are the extras, and let's just have a look at this paper pack. It is called Starry Night, and it's got beautiful, soft pinks with a little touch of, I guess it's like a lilac, grays and muted tones. It's really beautiful. So that's our cover sheet, and on the back, just look at those elements, absolutely magnificent, beautiful cutouts. Then we have our 2 sheets called Moon, and in true Celebr8 style, when you flip them over, they form a perfect page border. So that is the first one. And then, as you know, you get 2 sheets of 6 of the designs. This is the second one. It also has a back-to-back flip. So also gives you this beautiful double page background that you can just work immediately on. You don't even need to do much to get it all together. And the floral collage, it's called Galaxy, and on the back, beautiful washed stripes. Love this piece. Have a look at those images. This is called Milky Way, and on the back, we've got those triangles, sorry. Pretty butterflies, and you can see the pinks and the lavenders in this. And on the back, we have a pink wash. This is one of my favorite pieces. It's called Venus. Those lovely patterns. And on the back, also like a light beige linen wash. And of course, our gorgeous quote cards. This one is called Earth. These sheets, you get 1 of each in your bulk pack. But as you know, there is an expansion pack that's available now that you can buy as an extra, and you get the additional 6 sheets in the pack, 1 of each in the expansion pack. So if you don't know which side to use, then you need to get your hands on the expansion pack so you can use both sides. Right, some lovely quotes. And here again, beautiful, beautiful quote sheet. And on the back, some tags and tabs, little word strips. This sheet is called Jupiter, that beautiful pattern again. The same as on the other one, just in a gray. And some more patterns on the back. Saturn is this gorgeous charcoal, sort of washed look, I would call it. And a 2-tone at the background. And of course, for our fussy cut enthusiasts, we have Neptune, this absolutely beautiful floral wreath, the moons, all little bits and pieces, and a starry night background. So the papers are absolutely magnificent. And I'm going to show you the projects that I have done with them, what we're going to be working on this morning. As I said, we're going to be doing 2 double layouts. This is the first one. So that's the first one that we're going to be doing. I can just come in a little closer and show you some of the details. Beautiful chipboard elements. I love this moon with the floral cutout. We're going to use a bit of that wreath. Some more detail here. So that's our first layout. And then the second layout is this one. Again, I'll show you some more detail. Zoom in. Yes, you'll see I've used my stickles again. I know in the last class I was teased a little bit about my love for stickles. Well, we're going to use stickles again because every page just can do with that little bit of a sparkle, and it just makes these little elements pop so beautifully.
We're definitely going to one day, Juliet, on your tombstone, we'll have stickle queen.
I love that thought. I love that thought. I'm going to decorate my tombstone with stickles. Right, so there, look at that beautiful chipboard element. It's just gorgeous. Right, so these are the layouts we're going to be doing. For those of you who've done online classes with me before, you'll know that we are going to do it exactly the same way. We are going to cut and prepare all the sheets of paper that we need for both layouts. We're going to cut right now in the beginning. So I want you to take out your paper pack. And the first thing I'm going to do is just show you which sheets you can separate that we're going to be fussy cutting. There is a fair amount of cutting to be done. So these are the sheets that you need to pull out and set aside. If you have not yet done your fussy cutting, you can do that in your own time, or you can pause the video and cut the items that you need and then carry on with the class. So this very first sheet, this cover sheet, this sheet we are going to be fussy cutting. And then we've got page number, find it here, this one, number 7, called Earth. We are going to cut all of those blocks. And then this sheet, number 8, also a quote sheet, but we are going to use the back. And on this sheet, we are going to cut out those tags. We're going to use the tabs. We're going to use those quotes. And we're going to use quite a few of these little word strips and some of the tickets. So you can pretty much fussy cut this whole sheet. And then our last sheet for fussy cutting is this one with the wreath. If you struggle a little with the fussy cutting, we're only going to use half the wreath. So you're welcome to, once you've cut out your moon, your center, you're welcome to just cut it in half. We're only going to use 1/2. But I would suggest you cut the whole thing because you can use the balance on another project. And yeah, we've used all of these little flowers and butterflies, some of these things around the edge. So those are the 4 sheets that you will be needing for your fussy cutting. And you can put those 4 aside, and we are going to cut the rest of the papers now. Right, so we're going to get our cutting tools out. I'm going to use my guillotine, my favorite tool. And I'm going to go step by step and page by page and we're going to cut each sheet individually. I'm going to cut for both the first double layout and the second double layout. And then we're going to make 2 piles, one on the left for layout number 1 and one on the right for layout number 2. Okay, so just get your cutting tools out. Right, so the first page that we're going to cut is number 1. Okay, so we are going to use both sheets of 7901. The sheet is called Moon. We are going to use both of these, and they're going to be used as our background pages. So we've got a fairly simple background this time, and all we need to do is cut off our barcode border strips, and our background pages will be ready. This is both for layout number 1. Right, so both of those sheets we're going to put to the left. That's for layout number 1. Right, our next sheet is number 2. It's called Stars, and we are going to cut both of these sheets. One of them we are going to use on layout number 2 as a background. So my apologies, I've got this the wrong way around. Pardon me, the sheet that we've just cut in the beginning is actually for layout number 2. So this sheet number 1 is for layout number 2. So I'm going to put it on the other side. These 2 sheets are for layout number 1. Right, so we're going to cut both the border strips off. Right, so that's going to be our background for layout number 1 that goes to the left. So we need to take back one of those sheets for layout number 2 that we cut, paper number 1, and we are going to cut just this section here that has the clock element in it. So we don't want to cut it from that side of the page. We want to use this piece, and the size is 11.5 centimeters. Okay, so that's our size, 11.5. We're going to keep the height the same by 30.5, and that is for layout number 2. I'm putting it to the right. Okay, we're not going to use the rest of this, so you can put the offcut away. Right, our next sheet is number 3. It's this floral sheet called Galaxy. And for our layout number 2, we are going to use a full sheet as our background, but we're going to use the stripe side. So we just need to cut our barcode strip off. And that striped side is going to be used on layout number 2. Right, and then from the second sheet, also number 3 called Galaxy, we're going to cut a piece 27 being our width, by 16 the height. So I'm going to turn it to the side, cut my 16 first. And 27 is my width. So that is the size of that sheet, 27 centimeters wide by 16 high. And that is for layout number 2. Right. Then with our leftover piece, we're going to cut off our barcode strip, and this piece should be a little bit bigger, but we're going to cut it to 14 centimeters. And we're going to leave the width to 30.5. So that's our size, 30.5 by 14. And that is for layout number 1. I'm going to put it to the left. Right. Our next sheet is number 4. It's called Milky Way. We're going to be using this triangle side. We're going to cut 2 pieces, both for the first layout. So I'm going to cut off my barcode. Right, the first piece we're going to cut is 15 centimeters high. And we're going to leave the width at 30.5. So that is our size for the first piece, 30.5 by 15 centimeters. This is for layout number 1. Right, then we need another piece that we're going to use for our frame element. The size that we need is 13 by 18. So I'm going to cut 18 centimeters this way and 13 for our size, 13 centimeters by 18 centimeters. And this is also for layout number 1. So I'm going to put that to the left. Right. We're not going to use the second sheet of number 4, so you can put that aside. Right, now number 5. It's called Mercury. We're going to cut from this pink wash side. And we've got quite a few pieces to cut from here. So we're going to cut 4 pieces, 7.5 by 10. So it works out really nicely in inches if you just cut a 4-inch piece off here. And then we're going to cut this piece into 4 pieces of 7.5 centimeters each. So basically 3 inches. Okay, so I've got 4 pieces in there that are 7.5 centimeters wide by 10 centimeters high. 4 of those. These are all for layout number 1. And now we are going to cut we need another piece that is 8.5 by 11. I'm going to go 8.5 centimeters. The height is 11. These are for all our photo mats. Right, so that piece is 8.5 by 11. That is also for layout number 1. Put that to the left. And now we're going to cut a few more pieces for the second layout. Right, we need a piece 10 by 13. I'm going to cut 13 by 10. That is the size, 10 centimeters wide, 13 centimeters high. That's for layout. These are all going to be now for layout number 2. And the next piece, 7.5 centimeters by 9. 7.5 wide, 9 centimeters high. That's also for layout number 2. Right, we need one more piece. We're going to have to use our second sheet because these are now too small. And we need one more piece that is 10.5 by 15.5. 10.5 wide. .5 by 15.5, also for layout number 2. That's all the cutting for this sheet. So we're going to move on to the next sheet. And our next sheet is number 6. It's called Venus. And we are going to cut 4 pieces from here. We're going to use this side. And the size of them are 8.5 by 11, and we need 4 of them. That's 11 in the height. Right, now we need 3, well, we need 4 that are 8.5. There are 3. And so we just need one more piece from here. Eight and a half. Eight and a half by 11. So we've got 4 pieces, 8.5 centimeters wide by 11 centimeters high. And that is all that we need from this sheet. These are all for layout number 1. So they're going to go on the left. Right, the second sheet of Venus, number 6, we're not going to use. You can put that aside. And we're going on to sheet number 9, which is called Jupiter. Right, so we've got quite a few pieces to cut from here. We're going to use this side. Some we're going to use the black side. Some we're going to use the pink side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by just cutting this in half so that we don't get confused. That we've got our 2 different colors. And we will start with the black circles. We need a piece that is 15 centimeters by 25 centimeters. Sorry, by 26. So the width is already 15. So we're going to go 26. It's already just on 15. Right. That is our piece, 15 centimeters by 26 centimeters high. This is for layout number 2. Right, and now from the pink circles piece, we're going to cut 3 mats. The first one, 8.5 by 11. Eight and a half. 8.5 wide, 11 centimeters high, layout number 2. The next piece is 8 by 11. There we have it. 8 centimeters wide, 11 centimeters high, again for layout number 2. And the last piece we need is 8 by 8.5. So these are all smallish pieces. 8 centimeters 8 centimeters wide, 8.5 centimeters high, again for layout number 3. Oh, sorry, number 2. Adding extra layouts here. Right, so these we're done with the offcuts. We don't need those. But we've got our last piece before the quote cut fussy cut sheets. This is number 10. It's called Satin. And we're going to cut quite a lot of pieces from this. We've got a whole lot of mattings that we're going to cut from here. So I'm going to start by just taking off the border strip. And these are the last of the mattings that we need to cut. We're just going to cut 1 or 2 quote blocks and then our cutting is done. Right, so let's get through this. As I said, there's about 6 or 7 pieces that we have to cut here. Right, our first piece is 10.5 by 14.5. I'm going to cut 10.5 by 14.5. All of these pieces that we are cutting now are for layout number 2. We finished cutting everything for all the pieces we need for number 1. So all of these pieces will go to the right-hand side. They're all for the second layout. 10.5 wide, 14.5 high. The next one is 10.5 by 13.5. We already have our 10.5. So we're just going to trim a piece. 13.5. There we have it. 10.5 wide. 13.5 is our height. Right, so now we need to cut a piece 9 by 11.5. So I always like to try and work out the best usage of my paper. And the next piece we're going to cut is also 11.5. So I'm going to cut, I'm just going to work out that I'm going to cut the 9. I'm going to cut it 9 centimeters so that we've got the biggest piece left over there. So 9 centimeters by 11.5. 9 centimeters wide, 11.5 is our height. The next piece we need to cut is 8.5 by 11.5. So we've cut that one to 9. So we'll go 11.5 this way, and then we'll just trim it to 8.5. There we have it, 8.5 centimeters wide, 11.5 centimeters high. Right, and our last 2 pieces, 8.5 by 9. So 8.5. 8.5 wide, 9 centimeters high. And then 8 centimeters wide by 9.5 high. Here we have it. 8 is the width, 9.5 is the height. Right, so that's the last of all our small cuttings. We're just going to go back to our quote sheet and cut a couple of quotes. And on this particular sheet that you fussy cut, we also need that border strip. So you will need to cut that border strip off. Right, this is the sheet that we're going to cut now. It's number 7. It's called Earth. We also need that border strip. So let's cut that off. This is for layout number 2. Okay, so that border strip is going to go on that side. Right, now we're going to cut these blocks. We don't even need to measure them because I'm going to use the sizes exactly as is, 10 by 15 and 7.5 by 10, the smaller ones. So you can actually just cut along the white lines, and we won't need to do any measuring here. Right, so we need these 2 blocks. Just trimming them a little bit, 10 by 15. These are both going to be for layout number 2. Don't worry if you've got a little bit of white lines, we can just ink them or sand them. And then for layout number 1, we need this block that says "You are something magical," and we're going to use this little block as well. Right, so "You are something magical" goes to the left. And this little block that says "Written in the stars," this should be 7.5 centimeters by 10. It's basically a 3 by 4 block. And that is for layout number 1. Right. So that's all our cutting done. We will just have 1 or 2 small pieces to trim that go across the center of the layout, but we'll do that as we're assembling it on the layout. Right, I'm going to put the guillotine away. And we are ready to start. We are going to start with I'm going to take my 2 piles, and I'm going to just keep the second layout's goodies all one side. I have prepared also my fussy cuts for the first layout. So I will just put them out so you can just have a look. We've got our half a reed. There's not even that many fussy cuts for this layout. The tabs, you'll see sometimes when I fussy cut my tabs, I leave a little piece of the background on it because I like to sometimes slip them under a photo mat. So I find it just easier to have a little piece. So I don't always fussy cut the tabs right against the border lines. And these are some of the pieces that we are going to use. Another tab. And a few little floral bits. Okay, so I've got my fussy cuts ready. I'm going to keep that all one side. We will use those as we need them. And here are all my pieces that we've cut. And we're going to start just with our background, which is these 2 beautiful bordered sheets. I mean, that's just a picture on its own. Okay, so there's not a lot of assembling here to do. What I would like us to do, and this is what, you know, those who know me know I do this in all my classes. I like to sand the edges of my papers, and that does take a little bit of time. So I'm just going to show you all the pieces that you need to sand. You do not need to sand your backgrounds. Those can go just like that. But all of these pieces that we have cut, all of our photo mats, we are going to sand the edges basically of all of these pieces. Okay, so those who are doing this for the first time, I'm going to just show you a little demonstration of how easy it is to sand. We have a little tool called a sanding block. This is one from Couture Creations. It's got different grits on different sides. It's super comfortable to use. It holds nicely in your hand. What I don't recommend, you can do it, but I don't like to sand like this in the air. It's fine with smaller pieces, but the minute you have bigger pieces, what happens is your page starts flopping and then sometimes you tear it or it's not very stable. So the easiest way to do it is on the edge of a cutting mat. And I've just got a small cutting mat here to demo. You put this on your table, on the work surface that you're working on. I'm doing it in the air now just for demo purposes. And you will basically put your piece of paper that you want to sand right on the edge of your cutting mat, and you just shift it over the edge of your table, and you're going to sand like that, just on the edge of your mat. It doesn't damage your mat at all. The mat is very, very stable. And it's going to give us that lovely white definition line. So the effect that it creates on a layout is to look as if you've double matted, or you've created another matting around your photo mat or your piece of paper without even having to use extra paper or extra cardstock. If you prefer to ink, you're welcome to ink. On the darker papers, it might not show so nicely, but if sanding is not your thing, it does make a little bit of a mess, then please feel free and use one of your ink colors, or just leave the edges plain if you like. But once you've tried it, I'm sure you will see that the sanding really does give an absolutely beautiful effect. Right, so I'm going to take a bit of time now and give you a bit of time to sand all these pieces. There's going to be some scraping noises in the background. Some of it will be just off screen, but as I said, you don't need to do the two backgrounds, but basically all of these little pieces here, all our photo mats, we are going to sand. Actually, before we do that, we should cut this frame. So this is the smaller of the two pieces that we cut from the triangles paper. And we are going to cut a frame from this. So we can sand the edges, but we also need to sand the inside edges. So let's do that quickly and cut that frame. And then all the pieces that you need to sand are ready. Okay, so the easiest, well, the simplest way, or the most basic way of doing it is we're going to cut a 2 centimeter frame, is to take a ruler and on the back with a pen or a pencil. I seem to have lost my ruler this morning. Is to just measure the 2 centimeters. You can also use your cutting mat like this. So if you don't want to measure and make little marks, if you have, all our cutting mats have a grid on them, this is on the centimeter side, you can literally just put your block, line it up on your cutting mat and just count 2 blocks in like that and draw a line. And the same, I'm going to use a white gel pen for this because the paper's quite dark, so it'll just show a little easier. So you just do exactly the same here. Use your grid. It saves so much time than measuring it. Two centimeters, and if you see there, I've just drawn a little frame on the back. And now we are going to just take a craft knife. You can even take a scissors if you like and just cut out the center. We don't need the center, and cut around that frame, to cut around that piece to create a frame. I'm going to show you on the layout what that frame looks like. And the reason why we cut it out and not just mat this piece on top is we're going to raise the frame with foam tape, and then the quote is actually sunken inside it. So it gives wonderful dimension on your layout that everything is not flat. Okay, so that's the beauty of cutting out the center instead of just sticking something over the top. Right, now I've also got my fancy tool that you saw in the last class. So I'm going to demonstrate that as well instead of cutting this out by hand. Those of you who have this amazing frame punch board, it's from We Are Memory Keepers. You can get your hands on one. Trust me, do. It's one of my absolutely favoritist tools. And because I love using frames on my layouts, and this just makes basically you don't have to cut this by hand. So it's got these little spaces here that you choose the thickness of your frame. It is in inches. I've set it to 3/4 of an inch, which is basically 2 centimeters. And yeah, so all you do is you place your little spaces in the holes. And you, like you would a corner rounder, you put your page in, punch, and you turn it around and punch all 4 of your corners. Okay, so what it does is it cuts out those corners, and it's basically given us our track for cutting along here. Now, this part of the tool is actually a little trimmer. It has a blade, and you would do the same thing here and put your page underneath and slide your trimmer back. I like to just do it this way and take my, I'm going to do it this way so you can see. I like to just take my craft knife and my ruler, or even a scissors if it's a very small frame, and just cut it by hand. I find it easier than running it through the trimmer, but that's just me. So the other nice thing that this punch board does is it slightly rounds the corners of the frame that you've cut. So it just gives you a really nice, neat, finished frame. And there we have it. That's our frame. So the old-fashioned way, you can just measure it with your ruler, use your grid on your cutting mat, cut it out with a craft knife or a scissors, and you've got a frame in a snap. Okay, so now that we've done that, we're going to go back to our sanding because we need to sand all of these pieces. I'm going to give you all a few minutes to do that. And you can sand as much or as little as you like. If you like a very distressed look, then you can sand quite deep and you can really roughen up your edges. If you're like me and you just like a little bit of roughening up on the sides, then you can keep it quite simple and just do a very light line. But you'll find that sanding it on the mat really makes it go quickly and easily. Just have a little duster or something handy or a wet wipe to wipe all your sanding dust away when you're done, because it is quite messy. Especially on the dark papers, you can see the difference. The sanding is not as effective when you're working with very light pages. However, you'll see when we take a light page and put it on a dark, you will see that even that makes a huge impact, those edges. Few more. So, sanding, love it, hate it. Let us know in the comments what you think. Of course, I'd much rather you all say you love it. Maybe not love the process so much, but love the end result. Right, so I've done all those. I've just got my 2 quotes and the frame, and then these 2 large pieces, and that is basically it for our sanding. I am working quite quickly. We want to get both layouts done, but just remember that you can pause your video at any point if you're falling behind, and you can just unpause as soon as you're ready to follow on. We're going to do the same with the frame, and just remember on the frame, we want to sand on the inside edges as well. We want the look to be even all the way around. So you can do the same with the frame, and you can just move it to the inside edge of your mat and sand like that if you don't want to do it in the air. So you can do exactly the same process.
Juliet, how long does a sanding block last you, one of those couture ones?
Sure, Dennis, it really depends. Okay, like me, I sand a lot, but quite long. I'm going to show you another one that I have. I mean, this is a making memories sanding block. Now, for those of you who've been around as long as I have in this industry, you'll know how long making memories. It's many, many years since we've had making memories. This sanding block still works, and you can see it's worse for the wear, but it really lasts really long. After a while, you know, some of the little pieces start, you know, if your sanding pieces start coming off, you just buy a new one. They're really inexpensive. I think they're like 40, 50 Rand. So it lasts really long. I sand everything, and I'll probably use 2 a year, if that. So it's not a consumable that you're going to have to replace as often as some of the others.
Are they differing grits on the different sides?
Slightly. There's not a very, very rough grit, because, you know, it is paper we're sanding, so it's not like but there are slightly different grits. I mainly just use this side, but this one helps sometimes for small little corners if you want to just get in the smaller piece. You know, a lot of people just use like nail files and emery board. You can use those as well. This is just super comfortable on your hands. That's why I find it easy to grip, because you can hold it. Whereas an emery board is a thin thing that it's difficult to sometimes get it stable. So, but absolutely, a nail file or emery board does exactly the same job. So you can use that as well if you don't have a sanding board handy.
So as a guy, I would wonder why Couture Creations, because they come up with all the fancy gadgets. They haven't got an electric sander yet for paper.
No, well, there is actually one.
Oh, is there?
Yes, there's actually been a few tools. I think it was Imaginus, was it, or was it We Are Memory Keepers, had a little hand sander, and well, like a distress tool, an electronic one that worked with batteries. And a lot of people use that. So we don't see so many of them anymore, but they definitely are some gadgets. Just got to look out for them.
Well, there we go. We'll have to come up
I'm
with
a gadget girl,
so we can patent it.
Absolutely, but we got to make it in pink, eh?
In pink, sure.
Tools have got to be in pink. That's the way. Right. So I'm done with all my sanding. Just going to clean up here. Wipe all the stuff. Just a wet wipe works really well. Wipe all the dust away. Okay. Right, let's bring our background. Let's apply this. Bring our background back into the picture. Okay, just a reminder of the layout that we are doing so that you have the bigger picture. This is the layout that we are preparing now. So we're going to also now go and just power through getting all of our projects taped or glued. If you use a wet glue, then you can just glue as we go along. If you use tape, then it's sometimes quite nice just to get everything pre-taped so that once you assemble, it's quick and easy. Right, so these are the pieces I'm going to tape now. Let's just move this. Right, so we've got our background. I'm going to put tape on these two pieces. We will still be trimming them, but I'm going to tape them first. And we're going to tape that piece. And now we've got all of these photo mats. So before we tape them, we're going to get them all ready. We're going to double mat. So as you can see, these all fit on here. So those 4 photo mats, we can adhere the pink wash pieces to the background mats. And this is the other piece that we can put tape on. Right, so all of these, those I'm going to glue together. All of these, I'm just going to start by preparing my tape. The only 2 that we're going to leave separately are our frame and this quote that says written in the stars, because these are going to be raised with foam tape. So we're not going to put tape on those right now. You can just put those to one side. Right, so I like to use my double-sided tape. If you are a glue user, you can just go ahead and start gluing that. Just going to get these pieces all taped up first. To adhere onto our layout. On the smaller pieces, I normally just put tape top and bottom. If you are worried that it's going to lift, sometimes you can just put smaller, only on the slightly larger pieces do I put another little piece in the middle, just so that there's no bubbles or little pockets of air. Okay, these two. How gorgeous are these papers? They're just so dreamy. Right, and the last two pieces are these. Just make sure that you are putting the tape on the, when I say the right side, I mean the wrong side. The back, not on the pieces that are going to show. Although if you swap them around on the layout, it's not really a problem. Okay. Right. So I've taped all of those, and we're going to just trim these two pieces. These two are going to go across our layout over here. So we need to just trim them a little bit. I'm going to bring back my guillotine. Yeah, the first piece we're going to trim is the floral piece. Right, and we're just going to trim 10.5 centimeters from the left side. So we've got it horizontally in our trimmer and 10.5 centimeters. And then this piece, we're going to have 8 centimeters on the left page. So again, we've put it horizontally in our trimmer, guiding it to 8 centimeters. And we're cutting it like that. Right, that's done with the cutting. Right, so the first pieces we're going to stick down, as I say, we've got our background here. It's a super simple background. We really don't need to do much anything, because it's got all this beautiful framed collaged bits going around it. So we're going to do a super simple background by adhering these pieces. Now, I normally eyeball everything. I don't measure, but for those who like to be precise, I'm going to give you the measurements to, if you would prefer that. Okay. So the first piece we're going to put in is our triangle piece, and obviously it's going to meet up in the center of both, but we're going to do it roughly 4 centimeters from the top of the page. Just peel off our tape. Okay, and again, you can use your mat for this. You don't even need a ruler. You just use your grid lines on here. You count 4 blocks. And you stick that down. And for the second page, all we need to do is line it up, put the 2 pages together. And then all we need to do is just line it up on the inside. Okay. Then the next piece we're going to do is the floral piece. Exactly the same thing. We're just going to do it a little bit higher. And our measurement for this one is about 2 centimeters from the top. Again, I'm putting it on my grid. And there we are. And we're going to line up the second piece. And put it down like that. Okay. There we go. Okay, nice and simple, nice and easy. And the next piece we're going to add is our quote strip. And I've just realized we need to sand this little piece as well. So we're just going to sand lightly on the edges of our quote strip, just give that a little bit of texture as well. Okay, what I've done with the quote strip is on the edges, I've just notched the edges a little bit. Just cut a little V. If you want to do it precisely, you can fold the strip in half and just notch it like that. And then you know that your little fork will be even. Okay, so I'm just going to run my sander lightly over that. And our quote strip is going to go over here. So I'm just going to cut it in the middle where it joins in the center of both pages, right next to the word all. Let's put a piece of tape on it first. It's going to make it a lot easier to stick down. Okay. And we just chop it off like that. And we are going to stick the, it doesn't really matter exactly where, just in below the floral block, and we're going to line it up on the next page. Right. That's our quote down. And I'm going to go ahead and double mat these pieces. Them all on their cardstock background, on their, it's not even cardstock, it's pattern paper photo mats. I do like to try and work with standard size photos. So you'll see often my measurements are quite similar. Basically, it's 2 ups. And sometimes I use 4 ups, and then often there's just a square. So, but I like to try and keep sort of in the 7.5 and the 10 and the 5, the 15 measurements, so that it's easy for you when you print your photos to not have to create custom sizes. Because I know some ladies struggle with certain photo labs, don't like to do, or the machines, oh, pardon me, aren't very helpful in terms of, you know, doing strange photo sizes. So often just a standard 2 up, which is basically 2 photos on a jumbo like that. It's called a 2 up, 7.5 by 10. It's just such an easy size. And if you want to make it square, you can just print a jumbo and cut it square, or print a 2 up and cut it square. Okay, so our photo mats are going to go here. Now, I do love to tuck little bits and pieces underneath my photo mats with tabs and things like that. So you need to always need to pay attention to that before you stick it down. Otherwise, often just don't put your tape right to the end, and you can often just tuck something underneath afterwards, because most of the time I stick things down and then afterwards I find all the little bits and pieces that I want to put over it. So just allow for a little bit of space on your edges to add, oh, I beg your pardon, to add some fussy cut pieces. Right, so I'm going to stick those photo mats down. And these I'm not going to measure. You can see I've basically spaced them evenly in this pink floral block. A little bit of evenness top and bottom. And I'm going to adhere a tab just underneath this side. Like that. And I'm going to do the same over here. I'm going to use this little tab. This tab that says precious. There. And our last photo mat. Yeah, there's great, can I call it symmetry in doing sort of multiples of the same size photo all together and repeating the sizes of your photos. If you, you know, one of the things that I learned 100 years ago, what feels like 100 years ago when I started scrapbooking, was the principle of use it once, use it twice, even use it thrice. So repeat elements on your layout to bring it all together to make it cohesive. And that's why you'll see even in the, like this, where I've used that chipboard element there, I've used exactly the same on the opposite side in the same colors, because what it does, it creates symmetry that you've got things that look the same on different sides of your page. So you don't want to cluster all your chipboards on the one side and have nothing on the other. You want to space things out and have your eye working all around and repeating colors and repeating patterns so that your page has balance. Okay, so these three in a row, that just creates a beautiful, like I say, I call it symmetry. Okay, let's go to our frame. And we are going to take our frame. Let's just hold on to this photo mat. Actually, we can stick this photo mat down. Let's stick this one down too. The smaller one here. It's going to go on the left page. Okay, and again, if you want to measure, it's roughly, say, about 5.5 centimeters from the bottom. And, oh, sorry, from the left, and about 2 centimeters from the bottom. So again, I'm just using my grid and placing it like that. Okay, about 5.5 centimeters in, and 2 centimeters from the bottom. Right, let's go back to our frame. We are going to apply foam tape to the back of the frame. Always a good idea to have nice, strong, firm foam tape. You don't want the foam tape that collapses in the middle. And especially with the bigger frame like this, just rather use more and go all the way around than have tiny little pieces. And then you'll find with pressure, your frame will start bending, if I want to say, in your album. Right, so just fill it nicely like that. While we're busy with the foam tape, we can also take this mat and raise that with foam tape. I definitely like to put a piece in the middle just to make it stable. Right, so our frame is going to be positioned roughly there. We're first going to adhere this piece to the layout, this quote card that says, "You are something magical." So I'm just positioning my frame like that. I'm going to slip this underneath It doesn't even need to be exactly straight because the frame is basically going to cover it. And we can now go ahead and put our frame down. Right, I also have 2 tabs that I'm going to tuck underneath. So I'm just going to have those prepared. Using these 2, the one that says So Loved and the one that says Passion. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the back just so that they're ready for me to slip underneath. Right, we're going to put our frame like that. And just before I stick it firmly, I'm tucking my tabs underneath. And then I can press it all down nicely. Right. Okay, so that's sorted. And we are going to now mat this piece that we raised in foam tape, this quote that says Written in the Stars. We're going to mat it onto our pink cardstock. Keep saying cardstock, our pink pattern paper, but we're using it like cardstock for matting. Right, and this piece we are going to put in the bottom right here. And if you want a measurement, it's roughly about 4.5 centimeters from the right edge and about 2 centimeters from the bottom. So like that. Just remember when you're working with double-sided tape, once you stick it, it's kind of stuck. So you need to be sure that you don't stick it skew. And if it is slightly skew, honestly, just take a flower. We always say pluck a bloem. Take a flower or something and just stick it over. There's ways to disguise it because it's much harder to try and lift it up again. Okay, so we've got all the basics done. And I want us to do, we're going to go to our wreath now. I cut the wreath roughly about 14 centimeters high. But the easiest way to do it is you can actually position it on your layout. And if you find that it's too big, you can just trim it down. I haven't even cut it exact yet because I'm going to put it on my page, measure it, and then I'm going to trim the edges. So that leaf I'm going to cut off because I don't want it to go over my quote. So you can also have a look where there's little bits that sort of stick out that you don't like. You can just trim them off and you won't even see it. Okay. So that's basically how I'm going to stick it on my page. And once you have that in place, you can again just take your ruler and a pencil, and I'm going to draw a little ruler line how I want it cut in the middle, because we are going to raise this on foam tape. So it's very difficult to cut once you have foam tape underneath your element. So it's easier to do the cutting first, otherwise it makes it difficult to cut foam tape. I'm just drawing a basic line, easy to trim this on the edge afterwards, but I'm just drawing a basic line where I'm going to cut it to go off the edge of my page. Right, so let's actually just do this one with a craft knife. Let's do this first. And we have it all done. Okay, we've trimmed our bottom edges, and as you can see, this lands up being roughly about 14 centimeters in height. Right, I'm going to cut these two in half. There I have my 2 strips. So now I can take my foam tape and I can put them on these 2 strips. Here again, even though there's like all these little bits, you don't need to put over every little bit. If your project is going inside an album, then it's not a problem. It's nice and easy. If it's going to be on display, then you want to try and secure your little pieces as much as possible. So I'm just cutting a few little notches in this foam tape. This is just a little tip, about not all the way through, just little pieces, sort of 2 centimeters apart. And what this will do is it will help me curve my foam tape, because I want it slightly rounded like that, so I can follow the line of the image. Okay. Right, I'm just going to add a few little pieces here and there just to firm it up. Doesn't really matter what it looks like on the back. But I don't want my little edges like this to bend. So I'm just going to put little pieces of foam tape here and there where I just feel it needs some support. Even if you don't peel them all off, it will still support it on the page. Right, so I think that's okay. Oopsie. Better. Okay. Right, so before I do that, I'm going to get some of my fussy cut elements. We have this beautiful big moon that I want tucked underneath there. So I'm going to just apply a little bit of glue. What I like to do with things like this is just put a little bit of glue on it, just to position it. And then once I'm happy with it, I can go back and tuck the glue underneath all the pieces. Also, if you look on the project, you'll see that it slightly overlaps your photo mat. So that's why I leave it like that, because once I place my photo here, I don't want this stuck down and then I can't slip my photo underneath. So just secure it in position, and it's very easy to go back and just put little blobs of glue under the pieces that are still loose. Yeah, so we want this moon to be tucked a little underneath here, slightly overlapping our frame and our photo mat. Okay, now I'm going to peel off the foam tape. And position this. Right, so we have cut it to fit our layout. So basically you can just position it until it meets both the right side and the bottom, like that. Okay, for the next side, we just line it up, the 2 pages together in the middle, and let them meet in the center. Right, like that. That's our wreath done. Then I've got this quote. The moon is the first milestone on the road to the stars. I love that. So I'm going to stick it here. Obviously, it does go in the center of my page, but I'm just going to trim it a little bit. And stick that down. The other side meet up here. Okay, then I've got some little fussy cut bits I just want to add. Just going to stick a little piece while this is still wet. Little leaf at the top. Going to add this moon over here. Like that. You can go back afterwards and put a little piece of foam tape underneath that side because the backing is raised. So we can just add a small piece over here just to keep it stable. Right, so I've got a couple of little details. I'm going to add those on, and then we're going to do our chipboards. I'm going to add some little floral fussy cut bits around my quotes. Beautiful little butterflies. This particular quote I'm going to raise with foam tape. You are my sun, my moon, and all my stars. I'm going to put that over here. And that one over there. Guys, you're going to just have to excuse me for 1 minute. I've got a courier downstairs and I think no one's answering the door. Just give me 1 second. I'm just going to run quickly and grab the courier. Just carry on sticking the bits down. Right, so I've got Shine Bright and Remember, and we're going to add these little bits. To the bottom left. And some little floral details. The beauty really is in the finishing. All the little bits that finish off a layout. Just add those lovely little touches. Right, so that's basically our layout done, and we just need to do our chipboards. So let's put that aside, and we're going to take out our chipboards. We do a little bit of inking and get those done. Okay, the colors that I have used. My all-time favorite go-tos are my Versa Magic chalk inks. These are the colors that I have used, and just my ever faithful stickles. Right, so this one is Cloud White, and as you know, I love to do my chipboards in white first. It gives me that blending background. So I've used 2 pinks, Pixie Dust and Pink Petunia, and a little touch of a purple. It's called Spring Pansy. Those are the 4 colors that I've used. And of course, I have my stickles. You can either use Stardust or Diamond, or basically any of the clear stickles. Those are the ones that we need for this. So let's open up our chipboards. We're going to use elements from both. Right, we're going to use this one that says To the Moon and Back. So you can just carefully cut it out. We are going to use one of these frames in the second layout. So try not to damage it. Just take it out really carefully so that we can use, we don't need both, but that we can use at least one of the frames in the second layout. So there's our to the moon and back. Then we also need these two beautiful moons. They're very delicate, so we just need to work very carefully with them. We are going to use both on this layout. And also going to use these two corner elements here. Right, so those are the 5 pieces that we are using. The rest of the chipboards you can put away for the next project. Those are the pieces that we are using for this project. And I'm going to show you how we're going to ink them now. I like to use my backing sheet so that I can see what I'm working on. The packaging from the chipboards. And we're going to start by just inking everything in white first. What the white does is it gives us a bit of a base layer, and when you put colors on top of it, they blend well together. If you just place your ink straight on your chipboard, it draws in and it doesn't blend as well. So the white is definitely a must if you want to create a little bit of an ombre look. And we're just going to apply white all over. The white is probably the one color that I replace the most often because it does get dry quite quickly, and obviously sometimes you get bits of color over it. So the white is probably my most used consumable. Right, so I've inked everything with white, and now we're going to take our 3 colors and let's start with the moons. I always start with the lightest color and just dab a little bit like this and brush it off as well. But you can do as much or as little as you like with the light color because the darker colors will go over it. Okay, then my next color, petunia, I'm going to do that a little bit in the middle, and I'll take my finger and just rub it slightly, and you can see if I bring it up close, let's do it on here. You can see how it's just shaded in a little bit. So we still got the lights on the tips, but just using your finger, you can also use a little dauber or your blending tool to blend those colors a little bit. And I'm going to use a little bit of this lilac on the other end. And again, just dabbing it with my finger to blend those colors. To show you on a clean piece that you can see what they look like. Right. You can see how those colors work so nicely together. And with inking, it's very much you can do as much or as little as you like. I'm going to do exactly the same thing with these pieces. It doesn't really matter which colors you put on the top and which colors you put on the bottom. It's really just about getting an effect that works for you and matching up the colors that are on your papers. And our last 2 little corners, the same thing. you don't need to overthink the inking. The more you try and get it perfect, the less perfect it's going to be. So really just when you're using colors like this that blend together, it really doesn't matter if it's not perfect, because as I say, you can just blend them in and then it all ends up looking great anyway. So there's the chipboards, all inked. And now we can go ahead and put those on our layouts. Okay. So we're going to add our moons. Oh, sorry, I'm doing the original. Yeah, that one. Right. So this one I'm going to put over here. Just add little bits of glue. I find if you do this in the air, the glue doesn't spread as much as if you put it on something and then add the glue, because it just has little touches and you don't want glue to be oozing out the sides. And we're going to put one moon over here. This is quite delicate, so you want to try and put glue on a lot of the little delicate pieces so that they don't lift up. The second one is going to go over here. Slightly over the frame. These two little corners I'm just doing next to our frame. Like that. And the second one like that. So it creates a little half round. And of course, last but not least, our title. Love You to the Moon and Back. Such a beautiful title. And so fitting for the images on the page. Okay. One more detail I want to add is we've got this beautiful acetate sheet with these lovely acetate images. They are very delicate, but I'm going to cut this half a sun face out. I'm going to cut actually around it a little bit. You see, like this. I'm going to cut into the grooves of the sun. Okay, the best way to glue these acetates, I find, is this Zig, the Zig memory system glue. It is a blue glue, but it dries absolutely clear. I find that the Tombow sometimes doesn't stick this down. It keeps moving a little bit and it oozes a little bit. So this for me is the best. And all you need to do is turn it upside down and just dot little bits behind the printed parts like that. And I'm sticking this behind here and just cut a little piece out from the middle, having that sun stick out over there. It's difficult to see, but I'm going to raise it up so that you can see. Just create some extra interest on the page there. Right, so you can do that with a few more of these little elements as well. But another little, this little moon. Show it to you like that. This little moon, I'm also going to put next to my quote. And ladies, it really is in the finishing touches that makes the layout. And that's why we have all these little bits and the domes and the ribbons and the acetate, just to add those lovely little finishing touches. This one I'm going to put at the bottom of this quote. Like that. Over there. But you can add as many or as few of those acetate bits as you want. And that is basically our layout done. All that's left is the usual, the stickles. I'm not going to do the stickles now because we're going to want to get on to the next layout. But I'm going to show you on the finished layout where I've added stickles. I've definitely added them to all the chipboards. If you look at the moon, you'll see that little bit of sparkle here. I've added stickles there. I've added some to details on this wreath. All around here, and the same with the other page. You see on the wreath, there are some details here. You can see the shine, and on the chipboards.
So it might have become a joke, Juliet, with you and stickles, but you definitely sold a lot of us on the concept of
stickles. All right, I can take it. It really does add that little bit of zhuzh. So
it definitely does.
Trust me, just go with it. Okay, and that is our layout number 1 done. So layout number 2 has a little bit more assembly, but all the cutting's done. So we can get through this nice and quickly.
Well, thank you. That's a really beautiful layout.
Such beautiful paper to work with, Dennis. Thank you. I must just tell you all that I know you can't, but I can see Dennis in the background in my screen. And I see he's hard at work this morning, busy prepping the next collection.
He is packing bulk packs.
He's packing bulk packs. You can see he's hard at work there. And let me tell you, it is absolutely, hi, Erin. And there's Erin too. Those who can't see her, I can see her. Welcome back, the jet setter.
Thank you. It's good to be home.
She's been gone for about 3 months.
She's been, yeah, poor Dennis. She's been living the single life. Not in a good way.
Well, you won't say anything.
Okay. Nice to see you back, Erin. And this new collection, guys, is absolutely beautiful. So can we tell them what
maybe
the theme is?
I think at the end of the class, when you finish
at the end of the class,
I'll give a sneak peek. Yeah,
that's a great idea. We'll do a sneak peek at the end of the class. Right, let's get to our second layout. And this is the layout that we are doing. Right, so I'm just going to clear my workspace and just get everything ready. Okay, we've cut everything that we need. There's a lot more fussy cutting needed for this one, so there are quite a lot of bits. Here are all the papers. Okay, I can get rid of all of these little cutting strips. Right, now we've got lots of sandings to do. Sanding's going to become the curse word. Or it's going to become the word that just invokes happiness. Let's see. Right, so these are all our pieces. We've got our backgrounds.
Juliet, it actually would be interesting to ask people to comment on sanding versus inking and see what the...
I always say you're either a sander or an inker, although there's a time and place for both.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes sanding is better and sometimes inking is better. It really depends on the paper, depends on the layout, it depends on the project. There's lots of factors, but for me, it's sanding all the way.
Yeah, I must say, like Michelle van Wyk's an inker, you're a sander, and then Laura Hannah loves to use a pen and draw stitch marks and things like that on. So
Yes,
everybody's
I
got their
actually do
unique
that
style,
as well.
right?
I didn't demonstrate on the previous one, but if you have a look here, I've actually done that as well on the previous layout. I've actually also, sorry, just getting the right. I've actually
Oh,
also
yes,
just
yes.
drawn a little frame on my photo mats. I do that too. So
And you
I
do that
love taking
freehand,
a
eh?
pen. Freehand. That's the beauty of it. If you take a ruler, it's not the same.
Yeah,
I think the beauty of it is the freehand, and especially with a sanded edge, it's not a perfect edge, and I think that's the charm of it. So just a little gel pen or a fine liner or a Koki. The most common is white if you're using dark paper. If you're using a lighter paper, then a gray or a black. So I love to do that as well, somewhere in between.
and a lot of courage and bravery, because doing that freehand, one wrong slip and
But again, yes, no, you're right. But again, don't overthink it. Because
yeah,
I think the
that's
more
true.
one tries to make it perfect, the more you get sort of squiggly lines. And
Yes,
very often it does go slightly skewed. I mean, if you look here, those lines are skewed, but it's okay. You know, it all adds to the charm of it. So the faster you go, funnily enough, the quicker you go, the less skew you will make it. The
yeah,
slower you try and do it, the more your hand shakes and the more your lines are going to go out of sync. So it's really a question of don't overthink, just go with the flow and get it done. Okay,
yeah.
so here is what we are working with. We've got our base backgrounds. The left side is going to be our stripe. The right side is this page with the moon collage on the top right. And this other smaller piece we cut is going to go here. Okay, so that's going to bring those two pages together, and our base is going to look like that. So the first thing we can do is just take this piece. We don't even need to sand it because there are borders that are going to go over here. We can take this piece and just stick it onto our striped background. And then we know that our background is prepared. And there we are. Okay, so that's our very simple background. Right, so now we're going to go back to our sanding, ladies, and we've got all of these pieces. We can again match them up. A little bit of like, you'll see they're all going to be double matched. So we've got to find all the pieces that work together. I'm going to just actually lay them out like this. Like that. And because these papers are light, I've matted them on a little dark frame, and it's really just going to create some nice impact on the layout. Okay. This is the matching for this. Right, so that's basically our pieces. All of these pieces we're going to sand along with these two. So I'm going to get out my sanding block and we're going to get this done. Okay. I wish you could see what my lap looks like. It's covered in white powder, but I guess you're all looking a bit like that right now. White dust everywhere. On the home stretch. Just a reminder, if you're not keeping up with this, you can pause your video and get your sanding done or your inking. And go back
Just a
to
handy tip if you're watching on your PC or laptop, just hit the space bar, it'll pause it, hit space bar again, and it'll play it again, the video.
perfect. Okay. And also this little quote strip, we need to do that one as well. Don't worry if you're making waves just by being yourself. The moon does it all the time. What a beautiful quote. So we need to sand that one as well. Even if it's just a little, it shows up so nicely with the black. The sanding shows up beautiful with the dark paper. Okay. Right, this shoot for the moon quote. I have trimmed it slightly. So we're going to just trim it. We're going to just trim about 1 centimeter off because it is 15. We want it just a little bit shorter, to say 14 centimeters. I'm going to just trim a little bit off the bottom and the top so that I don't lose my butterfly image. And I'm sanding that. Right. Enough. Okay. All right. So now what we're going to do is prep our, as you can see, I've double matted most of these pieces. So we're going to just go ahead and glue them all to each other. And you can basically do all of them. None of them are going to be on foam tape. So all of these pieces, these mattings, we're going to glue onto each other and have them all ready. And we can apply tape to these two pieces as well. always a little bit tedious, this part, getting everything prepped. But it makes assembly so much quicker if everything is ready and we don't need to do it one by one. It's a bit of a production line here. Much like Dennis's bulk packing in the background.
Juliet, we're so fortunate and well supported between Australia, South Africa, New Zealand, the UK. We packed 500 bulk packs. So
Wow.
it's no quick task.
Wow, Dennis, that's amazing. That's phenomenal. We are so privileged to have such fabulous local product, especially Celebr8 here in South Africa. We really are. We're very fortunate to have you. So just keep bringing us those amazing designs.
Well, we're here because of the support we get. So thank you for supporting us. It was really sad this last sort of 2 months to see 2 of our local suppliers go under.
Very sad.
Yeah, which is not, I mean, even though we're competitors, it's not good for the industry. It's not good for anybody. No. So we're really grateful for your support. We're still here. We don't plan on going anywhere. As I say, we're very fortunate to have South Africa and Australia and then New Zealand as well. And so between those 3 markets, it sustains us, which is awesome.
Absolutely. So yeah, guys, just keep supporting our local brands. It's so important. We're so privileged to have them, and the accessibility. I realize it's a little bit more difficult for Australians and New Zealanders, but I think your flow of getting products there is pretty good. But we are so fortunate to have it on our doorstep and just have these products available all the time. So yes, guys, we need to give them all our support. And it's not difficult when it's beautiful products like this. So, okay, I've matted all of these. I'm going to just glue them together. I've applied tape to all of them. Now we can just assemble each of them. Right, that's all my sticking done. Got all my pieces ready. We've prepared our base background, and all that's left now is just to assemble everything. Okay, so the first piece, I'm going to just put these aside for a minute. The first pieces that we're going to stick down are these. And we're first going to do the floral piece, which is going to go on this page like that. And again, I'm going to line it up on my grid and tell you more or less where we're going to position it. We're just adhering the whole big piece down like this. Even though we'll end up covering lots of it, you see the little bits of it sticking out. So this piece is going to go about 2.5 centimeters from the bottom and about 1 centimeter in from the left edge. Doesn't have to be exact. Just want to give it like that. All right, and the next piece we're going to put down is this dark one. The page was called Jupiter. And we are going to put this about 5.5 centimeters in, about 1.5 centimeters up from the bottom. So we've got a little bit of that pink floral showing there. And we're going to put it just like that. Okay. And that is basically our base background. What we're going to do now is do our 2 photo mats on this side, which is our quote shoot for the moon, and the larger of the 2, they're going to go like that. So we're going to stick those 2 down. About 1 centimeter or so in from the left-hand side. And the same with this piece. Okay. Right, now we've got these 2 beautiful fussy cut borders that we would have cut from the fussy cut sheet. The one I've just left this border on, the other one doesn't have it on, and we are going to stick these over here. So the first one we're going to just stick flat. The second one we're going to raise with foam tape, and we're going to layer it on top there. And if you have a look at the finished layer product, you will see the layering, the 2 layers of that beautiful floral border strip. Right, so the first one you can just apply tape to, or glue, whatever you're using. These are cut from the back of the, as you can see, from the back of the cover sheet. Right. So we want to just to overlap a little bit of the quote and the you can basically just put it next to that cloth piece that we've stuck down. Okay, now we're going to take foam tape and we are going to apply it to this whole piece. With a nice border of foam tape.
I must be honest, when you first showed us that background, I was like, what the heck are you going to do to bring that together? That
Yeah,
stripe
it
on
looks
the
a little odd with
side.
this.
Now I see, it looks really cool.
It looks a little odd with a stripe and then the other pattern next to it, but
now it looks so cool, yeah, with that floral.
wait.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm not going to peel off this second layer of foam tape, because on the original, if you have a look here, there's little bits and pieces that I've tucked underneath, but I want to get my border in place. So I want to be able to tuck those underneath afterwards, and it's very easy to just pull the foam tapes off later. So all I'm going to do is just take this bottom piece off. I'm going to leave that on, so it gives me a little bit of movement, and going to stick this just over this little border over here so that it's offset against the border underneath. Right, I'm going to just show you close up. You can see what we've done here. Right. So we're basically 3D'ing the border strip with an offset underneath. And we're going to take our quote strip and just basically put that over the join of the 2 pages. I'm going to use a nice strong red tape for this. You can also just use glue. I like my quotes to run bottom up, the words leading from the bottom to the top. But if you prefer to read it the other way around, you're welcome to move it around. In fact, you can use any of the quote strips that are on the border strips on the pages. You don't have to specifically use the ones I've used, but I do like this nice black line, or should I say this charcoal gray line, because it also balances out with the darkness around the page and on that side. All right. Okay, so that's our basic background done. And what I'm going to do now is just pause a little bit and we're going to work on our chipboards. Excuse me. Let's just shelve this for a minute. I want to do our chipboards because we need our chipboards to dry. So I'm going to just put that aside. And I want you to take the chipboards out again. And this time we are going to use the same colors that we used in the previous layout. We're going to use those exact same colors again with the addition of the stickles. And I've also used some liquid pearls. Now, liquid pearls, for those that don't know, it's very similar to stickles. In this particular brand, this is also a Ranger one, but there are other companies that also make it. And it is basically a pearlized accent ink. So it's not the glitter, it's got a beautiful pearl look. And if you have a look here, if you can see the detail up close, let's just get it to focus. I've basically done this chipboard with the pearl ink, and it's quite a chunky look, but it's shiny and shimmery, and it's also beautiful. You can also, after it's dried, run a little bit of chalk ink over it if you want to change the color a little bit, which is what I've done, so that it's not so white. It's a slight little pink accent to it. So it's a lovely product in that you can add color to it at a later stage as well. Okay, so basically all the rest of the elements that are left on here, we are going to ink, so you can cut them all out, and even the frame, we're going to use the frame as well. So I want to cut all these little joining bits off so that our frame is nice and smooth. Okay, now I'm going to cheat a little bit because we're only going to see half of this frame. So I'm only going to apply ink just to the left side. You can really do the whole one if you like, but I have covered the half of it. We have a look here. There's just that little bit of it that sticks out. So really don't need to waste my product on ink here. I'm just going to do the left-hand side of it and worry about the rest later. Okay, so I'm going to just do these pearlized accent ones first, and then we can go back and do the chalk ones. These don't need to be treated in white or anything before. You can just go ahead and put the liquid pearls right on top of it. I'm going to do a little bit, and then I'll zoom in and show you the effect. Okay, and it's just like stickles. It's coloring in. We're just going around the contours. Now there's obviously lots and lots of little lines and little details here. So just do it as if you were taking a Koki pen and you were coloring in. And where you get little blobs, just spread them out. I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so we're going to do these two circles, and we're going to do the portion of that frame with the liquid pearls. This does take a little bit of time to dry. So ideally we should have done this right in the beginning, but there will be enough time for it to dry. Obviously, depending on the weather and the temperature, if you're in a sort of warm summery zone, a nice day outside, it's going to dry a lot quicker. In winter, when it's cold and rainy, it takes a little longer. We've got quite a misty day here in Cape Town today, so it's by no means cold, but it's not hot either. Right, so there's the one. And the look of this is not perfect. It's like we were talking about drawing the frames freehand with a pen. That's part of the charm of it. You'll never get it perfectly smooth, and it doesn't need to be. The fact that it's a little bit chunky, I think, is what gives it its charm. So don't worry too much about little bits of blobs, and the texture is what makes it work. It's like that little saying that says it's the quirk that makes it work. That's definitely one of my favorite things. Just those little bit of imperfect details is what gives things character. Even though I'm a bit of a perfectionist. Okay. So I'm going to do the frame as well. And like I say, I'm just going to do this top section. It is the kind of thing you can do on the layout afterwards. But, you know, sometimes one messes and then you don't want to get it all over your page that you've just created. So I prefer to do it before and let it dry. You can always touch up if you find that there's spots that you've missed. Once it's on your layout with the stickles or with the liquid pills, you can just touch up afterwards when it's all adhered. Okay, so I'm going to put those aside now to dry. Let's say I've just done that little portion here, this top piece, and the left strip, and a little bit along the bottom. The rest I'm not going to do because we are not going to see it. Right, so we can go back to our other chipboards and let's cut them loose. We're going to use all the little hearts. I'm going to leave the hearts joined for now because they're going to be easier to ink. And if we want them separate, we can separate them afterwards once they're inked. Yeah, so we're going to do pretty much the same with this as we did with the first layout with blending the colors. So I'm going to make everything white first. I'm going to apply my white chalk ink to give me the base. Trust me, if you haven't used the white and you start using the white first, you will see the difference. You really will. The white is an absolute necessity. Right, so I've done white, and I'm now going to add a little bit of color. I'm going to start with my light pink. So start with the lighter colors, and you add the darker colors. You add the darker colors afterwards. And our pink petunia, these really can just be you can add them to the top, to the bottom, wherever you like. There's no particular order or color. Whether you do it light to dark or dark to light, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, and my little touch of the purple, spring pansy it's called. That's just going to tie in all the colors from the paper together. Yeah, so I've done those, and I'm just going to go back and do this beautiful. I absolutely love this piece. Some nice dark pinks over here. touches of purple, just a little bit here and there. Doesn't need to be. Yeah, I think I'm quite happy with that. And these pieces can now be set aside to dry a little bit. Okay, like I said, again, don't overthink the inking. Just take your colors, blend them around a little bit. The chalks are so easy to work with because they stay wet for a bit. It's not like using inks. You can also use oxides, not the distress inks, but you can use the distress oxides as well because they're slightly wetter and they also blend. But I still advise doing the white layer underneath because the oxides do draw into the chipboard. Okay, so that's our chipboards. I'm going to move those out of the way to dry. And let's get back to our layout. We're going to add our photo mats. Right, so I'm going to set those to the side and also going to collect some of our little fussy cut bits. Going to get them all sort of ready along the side. We're going to use the tags, the clocks, a whole lot of little flowers. We've got tabs again, some word strips, some tickets, a little bit of everything here. Right, so let's put down our photo mats. We've got, this one is slightly wider than that one, so just make sure when you've got these two together, see which is the bigger one. The bigger one is going onto the left page and the smaller one is going onto the right page. So I'm just going to place these, I'm not sticking them down yet. I'm just going to place them so that you can see the basic layout of them. Okay. Right, so again, for those that want measurements, right, so for this photo mat, we're going to put it roughly in the middle of the page. I'm not even going to measure it. I'm placing it basically in the center of that and this side. Actually, I'm going to move it over a little bit to the left because I want to put a tab strip in and just above that clock image. I'm going to add my tab. Just before I stick that down properly. Tab in there. I don't mind if it goes slightly off the page, I can just trim it afterwards. Okay, and above those two photos, we're going to take two of these tags and we are going to place our tags like that. I'm just adding glue to these. And the next tag, we're going to offset. Like that. And another little fussy cut bit. I'm going to add one of these tickets for the moonlight rollaway. Remember those days? Those of you who are my age and will remember roller skating rinks. Okay, there we go. We're going to add that. And our little quote or word strip that says, shoot for the stars. I'm going to put that over here. And I'm going to take my chipboard title that says Stay Wild Moonchild, and I'm going to adhere that just above there. The chalks dry very, very quickly, so this is very easy to adhere already. It's just the liquid pearls that takes a little bit of time. And I'm going to add that over here. All right, so let's go back and do our little collage over here that we want sticking out of behind the borders, to the floral borders here. Collecting my fussy cut bits that I want. I want that little moon image. And a leaf and a ticket. Maybe a butterfly too. Okay, so I'm going to start with the moon. And again, like I said, I didn't adhere that foam tape down, so it's very easy for me to just tuck little bits underneath. We've got this sort of half a moon shape. I'm going to add this one here. Like that. And I'm going to take this ticket. I'm going to trim a little bit off on the ticket so that we don't, just take a little piece off. And I'm just putting adhesive on this side. I'm not doing it all over because I don't want it to cover my photo mat and then not be able to slide my photo in afterwards. So we're only adhering part of it. You can see that will still flap up to first adhere my photo. And once I've put my photos on my layout, I can go back and stick those down. If you don't want something to overlap your photo too much, then you can move it all further in. Obviously, otherwise you have to have a photograph that doesn't cover, where you're not covering someone's face, so that you can plan afterwards. Okay, so I'm adding a few little flowers, some little details here. Just creating a little cluster of some elements. Add a little leaf. Here we go. And I want to use one of these, the acetate things. I'm going to use the one that's got this little circle here. I'm going to add that to that cluster. Then I'm going to use my zig pen. And I'm going to tuck that just over there. Once it dries, it will be clear. Okay, so that's the cluster we've created here. Right, now moving on to our second page. Let's see how my chipboard frame is doing. Still a little sticky, but we should be able to work with it. Right, so I'm going to glue this tag, this little pink tag. First thing I'm going to do is add this to the bottom. Just going to position it. Oh, sorry, let's first put these two photo mats down. We haven't done that yet. Right, so the first one at the top. Add that photo mat. I'm going to position it basically in line with that and just in the center of that strip. That one. Then I have another tab here. Remember that I'm going to put above that photo mat. So I'll put a little bit of glue on it just before I peel the tape off here. Okay, like that. I'm going to add another little floral element just above that tag. Just like that. And then I think we'll do another one at the bottom here too. Here we go. Right, so we've got a little floral element top and bottom. Okay, now I'm going to stick my pink tag down. Okay, just a little bit there, just slightly overlapping that pink floral piece over there. Right, now I need my chipboard frame, which we'll see how dry it is. It's semi-dry, so I'm just going to work carefully with it and put some glue around the edges. As I said, it's easy to touch up the pearls or something afterwards if you do smudge it slightly. Okay, so I want to position this frame like that. Okay, and then I need this quote that says, "Stars can't shine without darkness." And I'm going to stick that, offset that over the chipboard frame. I also want to use this tab underneath. So you want an even border to the left and the top of that. So once you've positioned it, keep it in place. I'm first going to add some glue to this tab and just tuck it underneath before I secure it. Here we go. Okay. Then we have this piece. We're actually going to raise this one on foam tape. I did already put glue on it, but that's fine. I can just put the foam tape over it. We want this one to be a little bit higher. So I'm just going to add the foam tape to the tape. Okay. And we're going to position this just next to that quote over there. So that's the last of our photo mats. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, space for 5 photos. If you want to add extra photos, you can even change some of the quotes. You can make smaller ones. So you really can add as many as you like. I'm going to use this. I'm going to use this little element over here. I'm going to chop the end of it off. So just take a scissors and cut a nice little straight piece. Still going to use that little offcut, and I'm going to adhere this element just over here. Add some nice glue for all these little delicate bits. I definitely don't want this to break. Right, and it's going to go slightly overlapping photo on the left, like that. Okay, then I have this fussy cut floral piece that I'm going to add to this corner. Add some glue to it. And I wanted to just slightly overlap the chipboard piece that I've just stuck down. Like that. And then my absolutely favorite piece, look at this beautiful clock. If you look at the layout from far, it actually looks like a chipboard. It's so beautiful. It's got such depth in the image that if you're just looking at the layout, it literally looks like a piece of chipboard. So Love, love, love this clock. I'm going to add foam tape to the back of it because I want it to be raised. Then we're going to add this clock image on this corner over here. Like that. Okay, so you can see the detail when it's raised with foam tape. It just stands out nicely. Okay, so all that's left now is a few finishing touches and our last little chipboard pieces. So I'm going to use some little flowers, some of these word strips. I'm going to use this one that says always and forever. Place that here. I'm going to add some little floral bits here at the bottom. And this piece that says under the stars, position here, I'm going to put a small piece of foam tape just under the end of it, just to secure it. Okay, and let's add, I love these little purple butterflies. Let's add some of these. And as you can see, I always leave the little edges that are overlapping my photo mats. Don't put glue on them, so that you can first glue your photo down and then you can secure those little edges that are sticking up. Let's do another little butterfly under this side. Just pop his wings up a little bit. Okay. And I'm going to add a little flower here. If you've already stuck down, you can literally just trim the edges off like that and just add them to the side. Doesn't have to be tucked underneath. Right. And we've got another one of these tickets. I'm going to just add that underneath this clock element. A leaf. The beauty is in the details, so just adding little bits of details here or there. I'm going to add some butterflies to this side over here. Here too. And I'm going to glue some of my the hearts that we've decorated, that we've inked. Just adding little touches everywhere to add visual interest to our page.
And this really is where you shine, the details.
There's no rules to the placement of the little elements, but one really does need to tie in the elements together. And where I've placed these little word strips is actually there's planning in it. It isn't just I've shoved them anywhere, because you'll see now I've got them here, but now we need to add one here to balance it out. So all the little black bits, the dark, the accents, the butterflies, they've got to be, you can't put all your butterflies on the left page and then not have any on the right, for example. So really is about just finding a way of tying all the elements together. And that's the way to do that, is through repetition. So just use it once, use it twice, do it again. Don't just do one thing on a page and not have it repeated anywhere else. I love these little corner details on a photo. but I realized, you know, if you're going to put your photo down, you do have to glue them down carefully. So I just put a bit of glue on the bottom. I don't worry too much about sticking them down permanently. Once you placed your photo, you can go back and do that. That's the little piece that we cut off from there. So again, it's just tying the two elements together and repeating it, even if it just is in a small way. I'm going to add one of those. It's such a small little cluster, but it's so simple and so effective. Okay, now I've got my beautiful wheels that we've inked in, that we've added the liquid pearls to, and I'm going to place those. This one I'm going to do just over here. The other one I'm going to offset on this clock element. The liquid pearls also makes the chipboard a little bit firmer, so there is a part of it that's not going to be stuck down, but it's quite secure because it's made it, because it's almost like an elasticy. I can't explain it. It's the liquid pearls is thick, so it actually stiffens the chipboard up. So you don't need to worry about a delicate chipboard being off the because this is raised with foam tape, it doesn't have a base, but the liquid pearls has helped strengthen that chipboard. And then I'm going to add these gorgeous, from our embellishment pack, these beautiful domes. We're going to do those in the center of those elements of that chipboard. Let's add the clock one to this side. How gorgeous do those domes look in the middle of that chipboard?
Yeah, that looks really cool.
Just fits there perfectly. Okay, and maybe another little butterfly. And I think we're done. You can keep embellishing. You can, oh, well, let's add a few little acetate pieces. I always like to do that. This quote, this one that says, see if I can find a piece to show it to you on. This quote that says, shoot for the moon, even if you miss it, you will land among the stars. I really wanted to use it, but I couldn't fit it in. So I just used the top and the bottom line that says, shoot for the moon. And then I used the words land among the stars. I'm going to show you what I did now. So I just altered the quote a little. And I put shoot for the moon there. And then I added the words, added the land amongst the stars at the bottom. So you can even alter the acetates if they don't fit in. Oh, let's glue that down.
And like you say, Juliet, if it's a dark collection like this one, we'll generally do a white acetate. And if it's a lighter collection, we'll go with a black.
Absolutely. Right, so this is our last little bit of finishing touches. And you can see that white, that blue glue will dry nicely now. You can see how the white text, got to be straight. You'll see how the white text, oopsie, it just came off. How the white text stands up so nicely off that dark background, and it looks like it's printed on the paper. Right, so that's basically our second layout done. Oh, I've got a few chipboard hearts. Let's add those. Let's do this one over here. And got these two little babies left. I'm going to add this one to the title. And there's a little quiet spot there. So I'm going to do the last little one just in that corner. And once again, you can stick that down once you've added your photo. And that's our layout done.
That's a stunning, stunning layout. Now, which layout did you actually start with? Which was your primary layout and which was your...
You know,
Surely this
normally
was
I
the
do that.
primary.
I do one and then I do another one. This particular collection, I actually did the two layouts at the same time.
Okay.
I had them both on my table and I was adding little bits. I work I work quite differently. I don't stick a single thing down until I've actually almost completed the whole layout. So I will have literally
Wow.
placed, maybe not every single little flower, but I have my fussy cuts and everything all assembled. Then I take a photo of it, I take it all off and I stick it all back down. So this, in this particular case, I actually did both layouts at the same time because
Wow.
it was so difficult to decide what to use on each. Then I didn't want to use everything on the one and not have it for the other. So I worked concurrently with the two. But that's abnormal. Normally I do one layout and then go back and do the second one.
We'll have to one day when you're back here, get you to design your layouts, but do a time-lapse video. So we can actually see
so I'll need to
your
be there
thought
for about
process.
a week, Dennis.
Okay.
You'll have to book it in a holiday.
Yeah, no, I've scrapped that idea.
No, actually, it's a fabulous idea. I mean, maybe not a week, but the thing is, I don't always sit down and get it done. I sometimes work a little bit, and some layouts come together so quickly, and then others I work for days on. You know, I'll put it aside and I'll look at it, and then I'll come back and move something and tweak it, and then, you know, go back to it the next day. So some layouts take me a week to do. Others I can clap it in a day or a week. Oh, sorry, a day or a weekend.
Yeah.
But it depends.
Even
But yeah,
with,
time lapse is a great idea. We'll have to speed it up really fast because I work very slowly.
But I mean, even with designing paper, you know, some collections come together so much quicker than others, and others, oh, you want to pull your hair out because nothing's working. But
and isn't it ironic that sometimes those ones that you spend the longest on, well, I find if I've worked on a project for so long, I start not hating it, but I sort of sometimes enjoy it less. And then that's normally the one that sells the best or people love it the most. And I'm so over it because I've worked on it for so long. So it's funny how that works. Sometimes the ones that have the most blood, sweat and tears are the most successful. So it's all worth it in the end.
Awesome, awesome. Juliet, you don't, because the camera is focusing on you, you don't have a collection pack for Wild Christmas there, do you?
Oh, I do.
Do you?
I do.
If you can give them a brief walkthrough of it, and then I'll actually put the promo video at the end of this class so they can see.
Right. So let me get it. It's right here. You guys, you're in for a treat. It's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I know it's definitely close to our South African hearts. This is the new collection that's coming up. It's called Wild Christmas. And it's releasing at the end of this month. It is absolutely beautiful. I'm going to show you some of the papers inside. May I, Dennis?
Yes, please do.
Lovely chipboards. The domes are just gorgeous as well. So those are your extras. But you actually need to see these papers. I've already fussy cut the entire collection. Fortunately, I have a second pack that I work with, so I can show you the whole thing. But I've already done all my fussy cutting. Are you proud of me?
Well done, well done.
This paper is just gorgeous. The colors, and of course, it has these gorgeous wild animals. Very, I want to say, African style. It's just gorgeous.
So just to give some credit here quickly, Juliet. So this is a graphic designer in Durban who did the animals for us. Her name's Heather.
Yes, Heather.
Yeah. And so she did our proteas earlier on in the year. And then we asked her to let us use her Christmas animals, her Christmas wild animals. She
is phenomenally talented. The images are just beautiful. So I definitely recognized her work. It's absolutely gorgeous. Look at these papers. I did.
Yeah,
love the touch of the African Christmas, if we can call it that. But our double sheets again, And the animals have all got, you know, they're carrying baubles and they've got little birds with Christmas hats, and it's just gorgeous. Love, 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 love a gingham or a tartan, whichever you want to call it. Beautiful textures. These colors are just, I don't even know if you can see it properly. The colors are so bold. A little bit of a shwe type pattern here. Just absolutely gorgeous. And it's not limited to sort of African flair, you know, it's beautiful Christmas paper as well. But I love the fact that it's got, look at that sheet, it's just beautiful. I love the fact that it's got something a little more local for us. Look at this quote sheet, beautiful.
How cool is the little meerkat? Who doesn't love a meerkat?
He is absolutely the cutest. He's all tangled up in the tinsel. It's gorgeous. Look at these tags. Absolutely love those tags. I think I want to do just a set of tags, you know, like I did in the alpha, just a whole set of built up tags just with these tags. I think that's going to be my, look at the advent sheet. This is gorgeous. I mean, you could do an advent box or an advent page on its own just with a sheet of paper. There is only one of these, but if you buy the expansion pack, then you can get another one, because look at the back. This was the hardest sheet for me, because I was like, no, Dennis, no, I don't know which one to use.
So I thought, well, not everybody does an advent calendar. So if they're not into advent calendars, there's the back one.
Absolutely. So expansion pack all the way. And then look at this. It's just gorgeous. I love these word strips. As you can see, I love using them. Absolutely beautiful. Each page has got lovely texture. And of course, our fussy cut sheet with all the animals. I love the giraffe also with the bauble in his mouth. He's just too cute. So and
then the exciting news or good news is if you purchase the bulk pack, we will be throwing in 2 sheets of craft cardstock as well for free, our Christmas gift.
Fabulous. And because, you know, Juliet loves to use craft. so you won't need to add. I'll definitely be using craft with this. I mean, it just lends itself to that. And I love to add craft to my pages or even use it as the background. So that's fabulous.
I think with those 2 extra sheets, you can probably even get a 3rd layout. Just saying.
Definitely. Yeah, so I've already started working on something, but apart from my layouts, I'm definitely going to do some tags or some extra gifting tags and that with the leftovers, and we'll include that in our next class as well.
Oh, great.
So we'll definitely do a little bonus with the notes this month.
Great. Well, Juliet, thank you for promoting that, and thank you for 2 really gorgeous layouts. It was I didn't do the class this time because I'm under pressure to pack. But
he's packing Wild Christmas.
Yes, packing Wild Christmas. The good news is it's already in the air, probably on the way to Australia. It'll be there before we launch, and our distributor in South Africa, the wholesaler, has their stock already. So yeah, we're all set for it. I think it launches on the 24th.
And this collection, yes, the 24th. That's just less than 2 weeks.
Yes,
it's a week and a half.
Yeah. So grab it. We'll announce the class dates a little bit later. We'll probably, because it's Christmas, the season of giving, we'll probably be doing 2 online classes. Juliet's for those who are enjoying her classes, and those who like a bit of variety. We'll probably get Erin, now that she's back, to do a couple of layouts as well. So we'll probably do it over a Saturday and a Sunday. So grab your pack, grab a bulk pack and a paper pack, and do both. Yeah.
For sure. And this is great for crackers and for gifting and tags and things like that as well. So it's a range that isn't just for doing, you know, photo projects. This is a fabulous gifting range. So I'm definitely going to do some tags or some extra cards or things like that. So yeah, watch the space. Let's see what we can come up with.
Awesome. Juliet, thank you. We're going to let you go back to shop fitting. We're very, very excited. So I think the next time we do a video, we're going to have to make sure you've got a second camera so we can have
definitely.
a class, or maybe even on your phone we can do a walkthrough.
We'll have it set up. Perfect.
Great.
Thanks for joining me, guys, and I hope you enjoyed the projects. And yeah, we'll have a chat going on Saturday. So if there are any questions or anything, then please just message us on the chat. And yeah, we'll answer whatever questions we can, or just engage.
So just a quick one, if you'd like to join our WhatsApp groups, well, we've got a few going, but that keeps you up to date, and we do open them from time to time, and Juliet's an admin, we're admins, and so just pop us a WhatsApp. The number is +27 76 810 7263. So carry on chatting there. Great, Juliet. Thank you. Appreciate your time this morning, and we'll see you next month.
Perfect. Take care, guys. See you next time.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.